So here Lord Kapila is continuing to instruct Mother Devahuti. Here he is saying, Yo antaha pravishya bhutani. He enters the living entities as Paramatma. Bhutair atti akilashayaha. He is a support system for all the living beings as Paramatma. Sa Vishnu Akhyo Adiyagno So. So that Vishnu, that Vishnu, Akhyaha, who is named as Vishnu, Adiyagnaha, he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Kalaha Kalayatam Prabhuhu. Kalaha, we know that Kalaha means time factor. Kalayatam, of all the masters. Prabhuho, the master. So here, actually Lord Kapila is continuing to explain further from his previous verses. Further, he is explaining the time factor here in this verse. In the previous verse also it is explained that how Lord as a time fact, as a representation in this material world as a time factor, how he is acting as a feature here in this material world as a time factor. And these are the qualities of Purusha. The context is that Lord Kapila explained that how, irrespective of whichever yoga system it is, whether it is Bhakti Yoga system or the Mystic Yoga system, the end result is that one has to attain Vishnu. So in that context, Kapila Muni said that Purushaha Purusham Rajet. The first Purusha referred here is a tiny living being, the tiny Purusha. And Purushaha Vrajet means it attains another Purusha who is not as a tiny Purusha, as a supreme Purusha. So then further after that onwards, Lord Kapila is actually trying to establish the differentiation between the tiny Purusha and the supreme Purusha. The last few verses, after explaining about the two Purusha, he is actually bringing out the qualities of the supreme Purusha. This is important, otherwise one would misunderstand both the Purushas are one and the same. Hence these narrations are being given by Kapila Muni to understand how that Purusha, whom the teeny Purusha is supposed to achieve, is not on the same level. Both are not on the same level. So here, Kapila Muni is saying further the attributes of that Purusha, that he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. In the Bhagavad Gita also we know that Krishna says that he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Bhoktaram yagya tapasa. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is a controller of the entire creation and he is enjoyer of sacrifices. He is an enjoyer of all the activities that is being conducted. And living beings, for that matter, they cannot remain without activities, without performing any activities. And those activities are supposed to be offered as a sacrifice to the Supreme Lord. In any circumstances, Lord is an enjoyer of the sacrifices. In the spiritual world, the living beings, the residents of the spiritual world, they offer their activities as with love and as a loving offering. So there is no force required. Even in the material world also, although not directly, in the spiritual world, the devotees of the Lord, they offer their activities as a direct sacrifice for the enjoyment of the Lord. But in the material world, although living entity doesn't want to offer as a sacrifice to the Lord, because the very purpose of the material world is giving a chance for the living being to enjoy independently. So then where is the question of offering sacrifice for the enjoyment of the Lord? So even in the material world, Lord is an enjoyer, in the term that He is the supreme controller. As a controller, He is an enjoyer, because as a controller also enjoys. Just like government, a good citizen, he dedicates his work for the benefit of the government. And in the prison house also, the prisoners are also working, but they are also indirectly working for the government. So, government is the supreme controller of the prison house. Government is also a controller of the material, the city also, nonetheless. But even a person who doesn't agree the supremacy of the Lord is also forced to agree the supremacy of the Lord in that sense. So in that way, Lord is supreme controller in any circumstances, whether in material world or the spiritual world. He is a supreme enjoyer, irrespective of he is in whichever, in any world for that matter, material world or spiritual world. Of course, for the Lord, there is no difference between the material and spiritual. For our understanding, that His position as an enjoyer of all sacrifices remains intact, irrespective of whichever world it is. So, all these activities, they are controlled by the time factor. Because it is a Kala that is making arrangements for the living beings to act based on the guna and karma. Because any activity that is conducted in this world is performed under the influence of the guna. And the Kala facilitates everything for the living being to act in a particular mode of nature. So in that sense, if you see, the time is an eternal factor of this material world. It is constantly acting in this material world. There is not a single moment when time is not acting in this material world. It is constantly acting in this world. So that's why time is an eternal factor. The Bhagavad Gita, in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 factors that is being explained in Bhagavad Gita. One of them is the time factor. And time is eternal. Just like how living beings and the Ishvara, Jiva and Ishvara is also eternal. Similarly, the time factor is also eternal. It eternally operates in this material world. And it acts as a representative of the Lord. It is one of the feature and aspect of the Lord. It is not independent of the Lord. It is an energy of the Lord which operates in this material manifestation. And it is very important to understand, to have a complete understanding about the Lord, one has to understand the various aspects, the features of the Lord also. About the various manifestations of the Lord in this material world, one has to understand. If one has to understand the Lord completely and perfectly, he has to be understood along with his features. Otherwise, his knowledge is incomplete. His understanding is not complete. He will not be able to understand how this material world is functioning, how this material world operates. Not just like the Brahmanas in Vrindavan. No, they were able to understand the Lord in the fire sacrifice, but they were not able to understand when the Lord was physically present there. That is because of lack of knowledge. So a devotee understands that full knowledge about the position of the Lord along with his features. He understands how this material world operates and how various manifestations in this world is happening through the energies of the Lord, and the time factor specifically is an energy of the Lord. That is why it is important to understand the time factor also, the concept of devotional service. The chapter is titled here as Explanation of Devotional Service. So Kala also has an important role with respect to the devotional service, because Kala, the time, is same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference between Kala and the Supreme Lord. So devotional service of the Lord means one has to also understand that Kala and the Lord is not different. Just like how Lord has expanded in this material world inside in the form of a Paramatma, the same Lord also expands externally in the form of the time, in the form of the time factor. And he controls every activities which is governing within this material world. So everything within this material world is influenced by the time factor. So it doesn't operate on its own. There is a time factor that is constantly influencing various activities within this material world. So that is the influence of the time in this world. And the direct influence that we can make out is the changes that is happening in this world. There is a constant change that is happening in this world that we can see, both externally and internally also. Outside also we can see changes. There are changes within one's own self. One's own self means one's own body, I mean to say. We see our body is constantly changing. In the previous verse also, Kapila Muni says, Rupaha Vedas Padam. Rupaha means this form is constantly subjected to change by Kala. Rupaha Vedas Padam Kala iti abhidhiyate. Due to influence of Kala, there is constant transformation of the Rupa. There is a constant change in the form of the person. So this change is inevitable. We may try many things to avoid this change, but this change is inevitable. Based on the consciousness of the person who is experiencing this change, one can understand how the time is operating on that specific person. A devotee, for that matter, is not affected by the change of body, the changes that is happening within one's body. the transformations that is happening in the body. Because he knows that this change that is happening in the body is by the influence of the time, and there is no difference between the time and the Lord. The Supreme Lord and time, there is no difference. Therefore, he is not fearful. On the other hand, someone who doesn't know that time is actually non-different from the Supreme Lord himself, he will be very much disturbed by the changes that he sees in this world, both on himself, on others. He is disturbed. He is totally disturbed. Because he identifies himself with the matter. He thinks that I am this matter. And the changes that is happening over the matter is actually affecting him because of that identification that I am this body. A devotee who knows that I am not this matter, I am not this body. This body is matter. Matter is subjected to change because that is a principle. The Shad Vikara, the 6 kind of transformations is constantly happening in this world by the influence of the time. And he has no control over those changes. And hence he is not disturbed. He can't do anything over these changes. On the other hand, someone who doesn't know this, when he sees the change from the boyhood to the youthhood, to the old age, he becomes very disturbed. A devotee knows that it is the soul who is only experiencing, the soul is only the experiencer of this change, but he has nothing to do with these changes that is happening externally by the influence of the time. And because of this lack of knowledge, people are constantly gripped by the fear factor. No one can escape this influence. Time is sometimes described as a Kala Sarpa. It is described as a Kala Sarpa. Sarpa means a snake. Snake is very dangerous. It means that no one can escape the influence of the time. Whoever it is within this material world, everyone are subjected to the influence of the time. And depending on the consciousness of a person, a devotee has no fear. On the contrary, a non-devotee is fully under the grip of the fear. Fully under the grip of the fear. They are afraid of the old age. They are afraid of diseases. Afraid of every small changes that is happening in the body. They are not able to bear. There is a lot of hue and cry happens in the consciousness. Arey, what is this happening? Sometimes we see in the social media about some yesteryears actors or actresses, how they were looking when they were young, how they have become now. When they were young, they are so beautiful, handsome, charming. Whole world were behind them. Now they are old, no one to look after them. No one will turn their faces to them. So they are conscious of these changes. Because they are accustomed so much to the illusion of this body being permanent as eternal, so to say, thinking that it is an eternal asset that will remain with them forever, that they won't be able to face the change that is being impacted over them by the influence of the time. and hence there is a disturbance. Few weeks back, unfortunately, I had to get admitted. The person next to me in the bed, he was undergoing some treatment. So much hue and cry, so much of crying. What was he being given? He was just given one needle. One injection was being given. An elderly man, more elderly than me. That is a disease. On the other hand, a person who is having that devotional understanding, the understanding of the time factor, although he may experience the pain, but he understands. That is a part of the process one has to endure. He has to just endure and just pass on with that. I am sure that a devotee will not be, who having that understanding will be put in the same situation, won't be doing such kind of hue and cry. Just for the needle, so much of howling. What about death? That is the highest change. That is the final change that has to happen with the body. So, developing that consciousness that I am not this body is so much important. We would have heard thousands of times this subject. In fact, the previous verse also, Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about that same verse, Dehinosmin yata dehe. But it looks so usual, well-known. It has become ordinary to hear very frequently. So it doesn't sometimes enter our it doesn't bring a seriousness, at least. So it is so important to understand, to dissociate with the matter that I am not this body, I am not this matter. Someone who can do that, he can be free from the fear of influence of time. Otherwise, everyone in this world is under the grip of this fear of time. What will happen to me next in the future? There's a great fear. Because time is very cruel. That's why Kala is known as Kala Sarpa. We don't know what is being, what are we supposed to face next? We are not sure about that. We can't predict that. So that's why there is a fear. What will happen to me? That's why in the illusion, living being in this material world, they try to conquer over the time by various artificial, external, fallible strategies. Like a person who is going to age, he tries to stop the aging by various artificial process. We see, it's very common. They don't want to look old, so they make looking old is an influence of time. Actually, by seeing these things, devotee, the time also actually facilitates devotee. Kala is actually doing a favor to a devotee also. By these changes, he can actually realize that instructions of the Lord. He is able to relate with the instructions of the Lord. By giving even suffering to the devotee is able to remember that this suffering is because of the cause of my activities, my past sinful activities. He is able to remember the Lord. So Kala is that way also facilitating devotee to remember the Lord. He is doing a favor to the devotee. So hence it is so much important to understand this time factor, how it is operating in this material world. And the devotee is not disturbed by these influences of the time. He knows that I have no control over these changes that is happening here. I cannot stop the growth of this body. I cannot stop the body from getting older. I cannot stop the body from getting diseased. But he is always prepared to handle such change by higher arrangements. By coming to that spiritual understanding, he is able to withstand the influence of the time. So that is the benefit of the practicing spiritual life. By the process of practicing spiritual life, one gets himself prepared how to see the influence of the time, the kala, which is continuously operating in this material world. And therefore, he has nothing to lament. A devotee of the Lord has nothing to lament in that way. And that's why he is Brahma Bhuta, Prasannatma. He has nothing to, he is always in a Prasannatma state because of being in a Brahma Bhuta platform. And he has nothing to lament. He knows everything is operating under the supreme will of the Lord, because time is acting in this world as a supreme, as a representation of the supreme will of the Lord. Bhishma, Pitamaha, when he was in the death bed, so he instructs Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was not willing to accept the throne of ruling the kingdom, and Krishna takes him to Bhishma, so that Bhishma could instruct him. And at the same time, Bhishma was also waiting for Krishna to come before him, and he could quit his body. He is waiting for that auspicious time when he can see the Lord and he can give up his body. And at the same time, Lord wanted Bhishma to instruct Yudhishthira, who was refusing to accept to rule the kingdom, rule the world. So Yudhishthira was very much disturbed because he is seeing that so many people got killed so that he can become the ruler. So he became disturbed. What kind of person am I that for me to become ruler, so many people had to die? Such a ghastly death they had to endure. For what? For me to rule. So he was not ready to accept on that grounds. So Bhishma instructed him that how everything operates in this material world by the supreme will of the Lord, and the time factor is a representation of the Lord, which is operating the will of the Lord. So Bhishma Pitamaha says that in spite of Supreme Lord being present in the midst of the Pandavas, in spite of so many good counsels, so many warriors being at the disposal of the Pandavas, still the Pandavas had to undergo so many reversals, so much trouble they had to endure. If it is not because of the influence of the time, which is operating the supreme will of the Lord, then what else could be there? So in that way, Bhishma makes Yudhishthira understand that it is only by the supreme will of the Lord that everything is happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. There was nothing unjust. Yudhishthira Maharaj felt it is unjustifiable that so many people had to die for him to rule. But within the understanding of the supreme will of the Lord, there is nothing unjust. So that's how we can see how the supreme will of the Lord is always exercised here in this material world, and time factor facilitates the manifestation of the will of the Lord in this material world. And for a devotee, he is above these influences. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who surrenders to him, he assures him not to be fearful. Ma shuchaha. He assures. And biggest fear is the fear of the time. Time takes away everything and doesn't wait for anything. There is a saying, time and tide doesn't wait for anyone. Time and tide doesn't wait for anyone. This principle of time is fully operating on the conditioned souls to subjugate them under the influence of the time. They are controlled by the time factor. So that's why they are always fearful. And the time factor is not operating upon the devotees who surrender to the Supreme Lord. That's why Krishna says, Ma Shuchaha, don't fear. Nonetheless, devotees voluntarily subjugate themselves to the time. Because the material world, devotee, although he is performing his devotional service, he doesn't pray. Let the influence of time doesn't operate on me. Let there not be no change of transformation of the body. The devotee doesn't pray like that. I am doing devotional service, so there should be no transformation of body. I have to be always young. That is not the mood of a devotee. A devotee subjugates themselves to the time factor without being associated with that time. He disassociates himself with the body. Time will operate on the body, but I have nothing to do with this body. He disassociates himself with the body. There may be so many ups and downs with this body. There may be so many ups and downs in this material world, which is a natural phenomena of this material world. But he is undisturbed. He doesn't try to change the time. No, materialists or the scientists, they try to change the time. Oh, there should be no death. Very soon we'll figure out a way where we'll become deathless. So they want to change the time. Who can change the time? Lord only can change the time. Generally, Lord doesn't interfere with the Kala, but if at all the Kala is an energy of the Lord, He has set the system and process of operation in this material world. He doesn't interfere with the Jiva, especially the conditioned souls. But if Lord wishes, He can change the Niyama also. Only Lord can bring or influence, have an influence over the time. When Sandipani Muni requested Krishna to get back find his lost son, the 6 children, I think so, isn't it? 6 children? 1. Okay. So Krishna went to the Lord of the Death to get back, retrieve the son who has already died. So died means influence of time. The change factor is operating. But Krishna, no, nullified that principle of time factor. So Krishna can change the time factor upon anyone. But devotee is not interested on changing the time factor. He is not interested in the changing the time, but he changes his consciousness in a way to adjust to the ups and downs that is happening in this material world. He doesn't want to, he will just change his consciousness so that he himself is prepared enough to handle the ups and downs of this material world. Constantly there are upheavals in this material world. Different kinds of kleshas. So he prepares his consciousness in a way that he'll be able to handle these ups and downs. He knows that these ups and downs which are happening, it is by the influence of the time which is operating at the supreme will of the Lord. So what he can do something to change these things. He knows that I am not this body. And devotional service, my service, has nothing to do with these ups and downs that is happening in this material world, because devotional service is apratihata. It doesn't depend on material circumstances. My body may be enduring the influence of the time, but devotional service that is rendered by this body has nothing to do with the changes that is happening over the body. Or the circumstances, the material circumstances doesn't influence the devotional service. There may be greatest danger, but that doesn't stop one from rendering devotional service. Best example is Prahlad Maharaj. Best examples are Pandavas. Best example is Parikshit Maharaj. Even amidst the greatest calamity, they were able to still be attached to render devotional service. And they show to the world that devotional service is not depending on external circumstances or material circumstances. We look for a favorable, nice, cozy atmosphere for our body to render service. We will be disturbed even for a very minute, very negligible, very not so really bothering issues for the body. Even for the smallest trouble, we will be greatly disturbed. And we keep our devotional service aside. On the contrary, we see great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj or Pandavas or Parikshit. No, they were not disturbed even. They were hardly disturbed. There was no disturbance. Even when they were facing the greatest calamities. So, we think that we can set right the things. We can set right the time, the influence of the time. But that is not possible, because time is a supreme controller of everyone in this material world. No one can control the time. Time is superior of everyone. So we adjust ourselves, adjust our consciousness so as to sail through this various calamities that comes upon us, comes on our body. Both body means both gross and subtle. More so subtle. Because sometimes we get attached to the thoughts of the mind, the thinking process of the mind. that sometimes we get disturbed and we take our own decisions. And our easiest decision that we take is that stop devotional service. So that is the importance that one has to understand, that this time will settle things. We think that we can solve the problem, but time is not under the control, or is not under our control. We should understand the time is an energy of the Lord. By the course of time, things will get resolved on their own. We think that we can control everything. We can change the circumstances. I can bring the change. Say, suppose there is a problem in the family, at house. We have left all our houses. We left our family and we are here. Some trouble in the family for the parents. Now, devotee can either think that what can I do? On the other hand, he can get involved. Oh, there is a lot of problem. Unless I get involved, there will be no solution. So we don't understand that it doesn't work like that. It is not like that, as if I am the controller of the time. If I can, only by my involvement, the things can change. The solution can come. If Lord wills, He can make best of the arrangements for any, by the arrangement of time, by the arrangement of the will of the Lord. By passage of time, things will get resolved on its own. If we think that we can bring some solution, then that is the biggest illusion. So that is why anyone who knows that time is a representation of the Lord, he has no fear. And that is why the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken, because Arjuna was fearful. He was perspiring. He was disturbed. He was not aligned with the will of the Lord. So after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he was fully free from those illusions. He is free from the delusion. He is aligned with the understanding of the Lord, opinions of the Lord, instructions of the Lord. So there is no fear. So that is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee, that a devotee is always fearless, akuto bhayam. He is not fearful. He is relieved from any kind of fear, because he sees everything is operating in this world by the will of the Lord, by the arrangement of the Lord. So he simply follows, he simply disassociates himself to such influences that is affected in the form of the changes that happens on one's own body, the changes that we see in this external atmosphere. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.